welcome to the first episode of The Fitness Equation. With this show, we aim to provide you with information that can help you along your journey, your own personal journey towards your health and fitness and mindset goals. So we know that long-term results require three elements to work: mind, nutrition or fuel, and movement. And that's the basis of this whole show, the whole fitness equation cubed that you might have seen on our socials and some of the different content that we've put out there. Over the coming weeks, we're going to be bringing you a host of amazing people that are going to share their in-depth knowledge about certain topics, covering everything from mental health to eating disorders, men's issues, and everything in between. And it's going to arm you and give you usable knowledge that's going to allow you to have the edge so you can get further into whatever journey you're actually onto. So with me, I have my co-host. I should read this because the resume is quite big. So on the right of me, I have a passionate fitness expert with nearly 2 decades of practical and personal experience in health and fitness and body transformation. He's the CEO of Force Fitness, a thriving body transformation studio based in cosmopolitan Melbourne. And it's something a little bit different about this place because it's not only about pushing weights or doing a bit of cardio, it's actually about, there's a bit of mind, spirituality type health, a whole bunch of different things. But Steve, awesome to be here with you, mate, and doing this. It's been a long time coming, so I'm really excited about this whole
Thank
thing.
You. Thanks for the amazing introduction. All that and more. Look, it's a pleasure to be on this show, and we get to share our experiences, and we're going to put ourselves to the test also in the next 12 weeks. We are going to be going into a deeper look on myself. This episode will be more towards Dan, and then myself. We thought it'd be a great introduction for you guys to get to know us a little bit deeper than just the surface level stuff which you might know about. And we thought we'd put Dan on the spotlight for the first round. So without further ado, Dan, let's go, man. Let's get done.
And I think when we were talking about this, one of the questions was, how do we actually do this? Do we ask each other questions? Do we write things down? And I think we decided that the best way to actually do it is just be as honest as possible and learn about what got us to where we are today and some of the things that we go through, that we're going through, not just with business and with physicality and diet, but everything else that gets us to where we are and why this show sort of came about. So, mate, whatever you want to ask, I'll be as honest as I possibly can to help the audience out there get a better indication of why we're doing what we're doing, and that everybody's human on their own journey. So, shoot.
I prepared some stuff. I don't know if you're going to be ready for this because some of these are a bit private, so
okay.
We'll see how we go. First and foremost,
Yep.
Age.
40, turned 45 last year, but I do get 27 every so often.
45 years young. That's how we look at it. I have a question.
Actually, that wasn't on there. How old was it?
Doesn't matter. It is now.
Very good.
It's important because I think we walk from 2 different walks of life and probably two same generation but a little bit different. So I guess we've got to go into stuff like upbringing. I think that's probably one of the first things and the complexities we have with that. So what was your upbringing like?
Upbringing. Well, look, like most families, I suppose, in Australia, where my parents were migrants. My dad migrated twice, actually. He migrated from Italy, and then when he was older, he was actually about 21, 22 in those days. That was kind of up there. He moved to Argentina, where my uncle was already living there and was already married and had a business. So my dad left Italy. He didn't want to work on the farm anymore. So he made a trip down to Argentina, where, long and short of it, he started working there. He met my mum, who happened to be his sister-in-law's sister. And they sparked it off and they got married, and they had my 2 brothers and my sister were born over there. And then in 1973, 74, around there, they migrated to Australia, and I was born a couple of years after that. So we grew up in Preston.
I think most Europeans chose Preston.
We born in Preston. I loved it. It was a really good time to grow up there. It's a little bit different now with all the all the different kind of people there, but the whole thing's gone. But it was a great place to sort of grow up. With every migrant family, we had our issues, and there are certain things that I adopted and certain things that I actually didn't. most migrant families, they're afraid to do certain things, afraid to take certain steps, once bitten, twice shy type thing. My dad had he was a bit like me, he had a lot, or I'm told I'm a bit like him, where he had a lot of dreams, a lot of things he wanted to do. A lot of those didn't sort of pan out the way he saw it. And so I was the youngest by about 9 years. So it was always a bit of a distance between myself and them, because there was some history there that I wasn't really part of, and I just sort of popped out, 9 years later here in Australia. So I grew up in a very different environment to what they did. I grew up in a different type of friends. I grew up with a different outlook on life, and I learned what I liked and what I didn't like. So we had our shares of issues in relation to work and money and all these kind of things. And so what I didn't comprehend then, which I comprehend now, is that as I watched certain things, good and bad, unfold, I was deciphering in my mind what I was going to be doing. And I didn't actually call upon those memories and call upon those things until later in life, where it sort of clicked and I went, oh geez, okay, now I understand where I need to be and all the rest of it. So that was my upbringing. A lot of music, a lot of that kind of thing in my house. Always, I'm a drummer, I'm a musician, I'm a creative person.
All right.
So there was always music in my house. We're all musicians and bits and pieces, so that was a nice thing. But we had our share of bad shit as well, as you do. So,
which leads me to my next question. What did you observe, and what were you taught as a younger kid, and what served you and what didn't? Predominantly what didn't serve you, because I think that probably relates a bit more to what we're doing. So as being European, there's a lot of things, as you spoke before, what didn't serve was kind of like the white and black and nothing else in between. No one really wanted to, they just wanted to do what they knew, bringing that mentality from overseas. So when you saw that, what didn't serve you?
I think what didn't serve me, thinking back, is the ability to bounce back from things go wrong. I think I don't think it was just my parents or a lot of migrant families. Whenever there's a bit of adversity and something bad happens, the ability to actually bounce back from that is something that wasn't prevalent with my upbringing. So there was no self-development, all these kind of things didn't exist in my home at all. So that I knew from when I was in my teenage years, where I was doing my own thing, that that bad shit happens every single day. You can either once bitten, twice shy, never try anything again, or you just keep going. Because at the end of the day, I figured out, shit, we're all going to die. So I might as well keep going. And what's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen is, I keep failing, but I'd rather keep doing that than do nothing at all. So things of that nature, the ability to bounce back, the ability to let go of things and forget about it.
When did this all change? Like, when did this all come about? Because there's got to be this point in time where...
As in which bit?
The mental... I know growing up it was kind of like you're led to believe one thing, and then there's a point in time where it changes.
You don't believe it anymore. I don't know. I think I probably, in hindsight, I probably observed a lot and couldn't decipher certain things because I was younger. But once I turned about 12, 13, and I started becoming really independent, because I've always been really independent, from that point on, I just did my thing. And by that stage, I think my parents had grown up all their kids, so I had a little bit more lenient than what they did. But I think I started understanding that the world was beyond anybody. It was beyond me. There was so much opportunity here. And I'm like, well, my dad and my parents came here, why not take advantage of all this stuff? So I'm going to do it. I'm going to take advantage of that. I started understanding, like, I was never, starstruck by people. I never put people on pedestals and thought that they were better than me. I never actually went to motor shows and took photos of Ferraris and things like that with the mindset that I'll never achieve that. It never fazed me. It was like, well, things are there to be bought. Things are there to be achieved. Why can't I?
I like that.
So it was one of those constant things. As soon as I was a teenager, I realised, I'm just going to do as best as I possibly can. And I had a goal that when I turned 18, I was going to head off to the States. I love the States. I had an ambition of going there and working in animation, which I still love and I do some work in. But that was my first piece of adversity. I couldn't get there. Not because I didn't get through it, because I did, but we just couldn't afford it. So that dream is gone. So for me, it was like the first bit of shit that I had to bounce back from, because that's all I worked towards. That there was nothing else. So and the little demons of not being able to bounce back, I didn't actually understand how ingrained that was until I had to. Where I thought, well, shit, what's left for me now? I didn't get what I wanted. Now it's okay. But you persevered and you call on things, and at that stage I wasn't into sort of self-development and reading and all these kind of things, so it was just like shot in the dark type thing, and most of the time I felt pretty shit about everything, but because I didn't understand how it all worked until later on.
Well, we're going to fast track a little bit, and we've built this is pretty much our 3 levels, so our 3 tiers of fuel, which is predominantly nutrition. We've got movement, which is exercise, training, and then we have mindset, which I know you've got a really good perspective on it, and I think ours is different. You've done a lot of development in that realm, so I want to ask you, what started the whole mindset thing? Because I think that's how we started talking about that as one of the first conversations we had, funny enough. So what started?
I think I was just tired. I was just tired of, at one stage I became tired of the people I hung around with. I became tired of who I was by myself. I became tired of things going by and just watching. I got tired of, doing the dream boards and all that kind of stuff, but not taking any serious action. And I had to come to the realization that, you know what, I didn't actually believe my own hype anymore, because I wasn't doing the stuff. And that's a really shit position to be, because one day I had to wake up and say, you know what, the only good thing I've got going on at the moment is the fact that I married the woman I wanted to marry. And I had a really good job. I was working for an agency then, and but I was completely discontent. I didn't look the way I wanted to look. I just wasn't overweight or anything like that. I just wasn't happy with anything. So, I knew that if I kept going in the way I was going, I was going to end up just like everybody else that I was hanging around with. Not that they were bad people, some were, but just the whole, work, do something shitty, work for the weekends, go on a holiday twice a year, and if you're lucky, you'll drive a nice car, get a house paid off, and then when you're 65, you go out to pasture, and that's that. I never subscribed to that. I never subscribed to the whole retirement thing. In my mind, I knew that, but I didn't actually know how to articulate that, or whether I, could ever achieve what was going on in my head. So then one day, I decided that was that. I quit. Actually, something happened at work, and I quit my really good job. And I rang my wife and I said, well, that's it, I'm starting my own agency. I quit my job. So we went from having a really good lifestyle, really good income, all that kind of thing, to zero. My wife was working. Luckily, it was just me and her. We didn't have kids at the time, but, it stopped. The Saturday nights we get invited to dinner. It'll be, it was before, dinner, club, whatever it was. It became, how about we met for a coffee afterwards because you got something on, for the fact that, we can't go for dinner anymore because there's no income. So this stuff went on, and I had to put up with the chatter in the background, the guilt in the background, the pressure of not being able to do things, and all the rest of it, my wife, blah, blah, blah. So it was all these things. And I'll be honest, and I did cave in, and if it wasn't for my wife one day on the driveway just turning around and saying, just give it 2 more months, I probably would have quit at that point, and would have conformed that this is the best it's going to get.
What did you learn from the whole mindset practice? Like, what did you learn? What can you share?
Yeah, what can I share is that life has a way of fixing itself up, right? What I did learn is that you don't actually get it. All these things are going to say like cliche, but they're actually so true. You don't get, life doesn't give you what you think you want or what you want. It gives you what you need. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, 9 times out of 10, those things suck until time tells you what the reason for that stuff is. I've gone through, in my business career, I've won huge, but being in that type of work, you also run the risk of losing big too. So you have to understand that. And at that time, you don't understand why did this happen to me? I had everything in a row, blah, blah, blah. But then a couple of years down the track, you're like, yeah, that's exactly what happened. So the biggest take from that is just trust whatever is happening, that it's happening because it has to, and anything that happens is out of your control. We can't control anything. Controls
It's
and
funny
illusions.
because we're taught exactly the opposite when we're younger, but that's in another. That's in another. Probably another podcast. This is probably a little bit more deeper. So if you don't want to answer it, that's cool. But I thought I'd ask, how do you deal with struggles?
How do I deal with struggles? Early on in life, very badly. I never spoke about anything. I never sort of dealt with it. I think my entry into adulthood, I was at school, I had everything going on. All of a sudden, day one of my adult life, it was a massive realization for me. So I didn't like my entry into adulthood, or 18 years old, or whatever you want to call it. It wasn't the way I planned it. So, how did I deal with it? I dealt with it poorly. I blamed a lot. It was everybody else's fault. It was the fact that I couldn't go to the States because of affordability. It was the fact that, it was someone else's fault that I wasn't driving the car I wanted to drive and I got my P's. It was this person's, it was everybody's fault. But then behind closed doors, it was all my fault because I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't have anyone that I could go to and say, what do you do? I didn't have anybody to lean on. So everything I did up to a certain point in my life, I had to learn on the job. And when you don't know something, you just try shit. And most of the stuff I was trying was, instead of trusting universe, whatever it is you want to call it, I tried to do something physical about it. Whether it was say something or react in a certain way or whatever, but none of it worked because, I was fighting with myself. Then, as I started discovering that there's more to life, and I started reading, I started meeting, I made a point to actually talk to people a bit more and understand that, I'm not the only one. I actually thought that everybody else's life was fucking fantastic and mine was just shit. So until I found out that, everybody's life at some point is really bad because that's just life. It's a series of occasions and a series of choices. So I started reading more and I started understanding, okay, well, what do I need to do? I can't rely on anybody to solve things for me. I can't rely on Touch Lotto, I can't rely on a job, I can't rely on anything. If I want to do things my way, I'm going to have to rely on me. And the only way I'm going to rely on me is if I get smart. So I started reading a bit more. I started understanding how the mind works.
Were you always a reader?
I love reading.
Okay.
I love reading, I love theology, I love history, but more than anything, I love creative. I love drawing and music and all that kind of stuff. That's why I'm in the businesses that I am. And then over time, I started listening to things. Instead of playing music in the car, I'd play a CD of something. And I learned something new. And I tried. And it worked. Some things did something. And I just loved it. I loved, a different perspective on things. And all of a sudden, things started becoming achievable. I won my first big major client. And then it was like, I came from nothing. I did this. What else can I do? So I started learning more and learning more and learning more. The biggest thing about that is what you actually have to put up with. And you have to be careful that your old self doesn't come out when you start getting arrows from people, whether it's criticism, whether it's judgment, or whether it's just, people just being fucking nasty. Whether it's family or friends, you've really got to, and a couple of times I did let myself down. And just recently, it's just happened where, something really shitty happened and I reacted in a way that's a terrible way of reacting because that's just not who I am. So, things like that, but it's just about just constantly learning and I fell in love with it.
I guess in saying that, what implications did it, what came out of it when it came to your health and body image? Like, was it a good thing? Was it a bad thing? Did it, give you a distortion of body image, your health?
Yeah. My relationship with food has always been...
That's what my next one, food.
My food.
Food, right here.
Yeah,
Let's go, man. Let's talk.
I'll put my sleeves up for this one.
And the next one is what's your relationship with food, your history. Let's go through that. That's important.
When I was growing up in primary school, I was the chubby kid, but I wasn't the chubby kid at school. I wasn't the fat kid at school, but I was a chubby kid to me. I knew that I looked different to everybody else because of my weight. I knew, that I wasn't taught about food. I wasn't, whatever was going on, and the rosier the cheeks, the more healthier you were, which is an illusion.
Yeah,
but
right.
and I think, there were 2 or 3 pivotal moments during that period that an adult said something to me, there was 2 or 3 instances over the course of my 10, 11 years of being chubby that ingrained in my head. And I didn't actually find out until much later on that it gave me a massive complex about how I eat, my body image, all these kind of things. So, you know, and that was coming from adults, it wasn't even kids. You know, and I knew, okay, well, shit, I'm the fat kid. I never actually knew that when I was a kid. And sometimes when I'm at home and my kids are having a joke about the fact, oh, you were the chubby kid in the school photos, there's still a little bit in the back of my mind that's actually kind of hurtful about it. It's like, you call me the fat kid.
A little bit or a lot?
Sometimes it's a lot, you know, but it's amazing how shit sort of sticks. So when I turned 12, I lost all this weight. I lost so much weight, I was a rake. And that continued on all through my high school years. Not because I tried, just because that's the way I got into adolescence. But then later on in life, I started learning about food, what was in food, what wasn't, but not, which I thought was in a healthy way, but actually wasn't. Because I would, you know, and I enjoy food, but I don't enjoy food. It's a love-hate relationship. If I have to have a cannoli, I'll eat it, but then I'll be like, I know what's in that thing and I know what's happening right now. So there's always this constant fear of, I always had this constant fear of becoming that fat kid again when I was little. But, you know, I was a chubby little kid, you know, and even now, and this is why this challenge that we're doing, this 12-week thing is so good for me, because it's teaching me to look at food healthily and in a non-guilty kind of way, whereas, you know, everything up to that point was guilt. I ate a plate of pasta, yeah, I want a second plate of pasta, but no, I won't have it because it's going to make me fat. And then if I did have a second plate of pasta, I'd have a shower, walk out, and hey, look what you've done to yourself. All these kind of stupid mind games that I was playing on myself, and I actually thought I was learning about health, but I actually wasn't. All I was doing was regressing back to that little 8-year-old kid that, you know, some bastard said that I have to go into men's pants, and he hasn't got clothes for the fat kids, you know. So stuff like that, you know, but yeah, so it's been kind of a love-hate relationship with food and everything now. You know, everyone knows me as a guy that doesn't eat, you know, and not because I don't, but because I just don't like to eat a lot. But I'm very careful about what I put in my mouth, and for more reasons than probably health.
All right, let's move on.
That's actually the first time that everyone's ever asked me about that, and this is the first time I've actually ever spoken about that. And as I'm talking about it, I'm actually saying things I didn't actually even know for myself until then. So
self-discovery.
There you go.
That's the funny thing about talking about it openly and publicly is like you discuss things and then it hits you because you don't really think about it or openly discuss it, so it doesn't come out. And when you do, you realise what you're saying about yourself and you're like, fuck, what way? But it's good. How to serve you in a negative and positive light, and where are you with it all today? I know, they don't know. So
food bit?
Yeah, I kind of know, but yeah, let's go a little bit deeper with the negatives and positives and what it leads you up to this day.
Look, you know, there are certain times where, you know, when they say it's what you know that'll kill you, I've researched so much into what's in food, you know, that it's almost crippling now, because I just can't have an orange juice without looking at a label and checking whether it's got this many carbohydrates or whether it's got this or whether it's got calories and so sometimes it's actually just kind of debilitating. And there are certain times where I'd say to my wife, why couldn't I just be that bloke that just goes out, eats shit, drinks shit, just doesn't care? Because sometimes I look at these guys and I'm like, there's total freedom there, albeit bad for you. You know, I can see your health is shit, but you know, I've come to the realization that I thought I was learning about health and nutrition and the rest of it, but I was actually learning to curb my fear. So I thought the more I learn about nutrition, the more I learn about food, and the more I work out and all this kind of stuff, the safer I'm going to be. And
it worked in reverse.
It worked in reverse because it's like, you know, now, you know, actually I went to Italy for about 6 weeks, and that was the first time I mentally decided that, you know what, I'm just going to milk this for everything. And those 6 weeks were the most freest 6 weeks because I ate and drank whatever I wanted. You know, and I didn't put on weight. I didn't come back 10 kilos heavier. I came back looking the same. So it can be done. So now it's about learning and adopting what I know in a healthy way. And looking my best, being as lean as I possibly can. Those 3 weeks leading up to this, where you said eat and drink and do whatever you want, was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. You know, what I'm doing now with the meal prep and all that, it's like fairyland. It's fantastic.
Clockwork.
It's beautiful. Eating excessively, like it was a real traumatic experience for me, actually.
You've got to go through those lows to get to those highs, man. We're probably running out of time at the moment, but let's speed up to the future. So, what do you see yourself in the future? What do you want out of it?
What do I want out of this?
And why?
Yeah, look, I think for me, it's always about achieving something, and my health and my mindset, and it's just an ongoing project. When I react to certain things, it's a part of my project. Okay, well, I write shit down all the time. I post stuff, and you know, I've learned to actually not care about what people do with my content. You know, my blogs or my videos or whatever. I've had people use them against me, all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't bother me, because for me, it's like I'm a constant project. You know, I don't subscribe to the retirement thing. I don't really subscribe to anything that is structural.
Yeah, but I think what you do, you kind of, I wouldn't say mentally hang the coat, but it kind of do, because you're just kind of like, that's it.
You're mentally weak, you know, and you know, I've achieved so much, and I've driven cars that others thought impossible, and I've done things, and it's not coming from a point where I have to prove anything. No, it's a case where if you truly believe that something's achievable, and you really nut it out and flesh it out, it's so simple. To me, a car is just a car, irrespective of whether it's $10 or $200. It doesn't matter to me. The house is just a house. A business is just a business, and you just decide that you want to do it, and decide that that's where you want to be. And if you get halfway there, then I tell you what, you're halfway further than everybody else out there, because I would rather have done a quarter of what I've done, and I'd be much happier than everybody else. Because, you know, and just on that, sorry, I've got kids now, and I've got 3 boys.
What age?
16, 14, and 13. All right.
Boys.
And
boys.
Oh, it's fantastic. Actually, who am I kidding? Sometimes it's just shit. But 90% of the time, they're awesome. But what that's taught me is that I don't want them to turn around and say, well, what did you do? I want to be able to say to my kids when they're older, hey, A, B, and C, and they can't turn around and say, well, who are you to give me advice when you've done nothing? I don't want to be there. So I want to make them understand that although you're part of a family unit, you're a father, you're a mother, you're a husband, all these kind of things, you're still an individual.
Oh yeah.
And as an individual, you've got to have your own sets of dreams, your own sets of aspirations, and because you're exemplifying to whoever, your children, that anything is possible. I want my kids to turn around and say, if I could do half of what Dad's done, I'll be happy. Because of, you know, this whole fitness thing, they laugh at it because it's just something else I'm doing, another project. What's Dad doing now? And for me, that makes me happy.
Can we underline that? That is probably the most important part of it all, because shit, I wish I knew that when I was younger, and I understood that information, because it would stop me thinking with those limited beliefs. It's kind of like anything is possible, even though I had an upbringing probably similar to yours with a father that had dreams. You still have that limitations like that. So what do you hope to achieve? Last one, what do you hope to achieve?
With this whole experiment?
Yeah.
From a tangible point of view, in the next 12 weeks, the goal is 9-10% body fat, I think it is, 71, 72 kilos, and hopefully get across the line 30 to 43 kilometre marathon. I know you've got a busted foot. I've got, you know, the fact that I hate running to contend with, but that's the goal. What from a mental point of view, I think I just want to, you know, this what we're doing now is really important to me. I think we've got 2 different perspectives, 2 very different people, but with the same sort of point of view. And my goal for this is obviously, you know, expand what we're doing as far as a brand, and you know, hopefully get some apparel out there, and just for some fun, and see how far this show can go. Not for any other reason other than, you know, as your clients come through, hey, I watched that episode the other day, you know, that was really good. I took one thing out of it. And this is why you do what we do. This is the reason why there's so many podcasts, the genuine ones, not the ones that just try, because Facebook is everybody's into self-development.
Oh yes.
You know, but that's what I want out of this, is to sort of make people understand it's their journey, and you know everyone's on one. So just give it your best.
And what do we expect to see out of you in this 12 weeks in the fitness equation? What do we expect to see out of you? The highs, the lows, I want the expectations.
Yeah, highs. Look, part of what we're doing is we're diarising everything, and I'm going to do journal entries online and videos and all the rest of it. And I'm not just going to, you know, in the 12 weeks, I'm not just going to show you my gut. What I'm going to show you before that is the times where I probably did eat something I shouldn't have, and I had to contend with getting back to it. I want to show people that it's okay to not do everything perfectly, which I probably won't do, and you just keep going. You know, taking one step back doesn't necessarily mean you've got to go that way. You know, just keep moving forward, keep moving forward. If you improve 1% every single day at the end of 12 weeks, that's not 120%, 365% over the course of the year. So you don't have to improve massively. It's just those things. So for me, it's seeing how far I can personally go and how much I can take and share that with everybody and prove that the fitness equation that we talk about, which is mind, fuel, and movement, works together. You can't have one without the other. You can't outweight, you can't out-train a bad diet, you can't have a shit mindset and win Mr. Olympia, and you can't eat properly and not have a good mindset. So you've got to have all three. And this is when we spoke about the show. What's the equation? What's these three things? They have to live together, and you have to have a healthy balance of each one so they can actually work in unison, not against each other. So that's what I'm trying to prove.
Yeah, I think going back on what you just said, it was about, I think people focus on what they become or what they want out of the journey and not who they become and what they've learned. It's just that one thing, that singular thing, and they miss out on all the experience and all the knowledge that they learn, and you'll be gaining and you'll be sharing with everybody else.
And look, and I think what I want to tell the viewers out there is, you know, irrespective of who you are, you can be a mum, you can be a dad, you can be overweight, you can be thin, whatever your situation is, just understand that everybody's got their own thing behind closed doors. Every house has a cross to bear. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to do a video. Don't be afraid. Jesus, there's enough rubbish content out there of people that are just trying to make a buck. We need more good stuff. So, you know, authenticity. Don't be afraid to say, you know what, I'm 25 kilos overweight and I'm doing something about it, and put it up there. You know, don't worry about what people are saying behind your back, because at least you're doing it.
Yeah.
So get out there, do some things. Don't be afraid. It's 2021. You've got access to so much things. You don't need money anymore. You don't need any of those things that you need previously to do something great. So just, you know, if we can inspire someone just to do something, at least one thing that puts them out of their comfort zone and puts a smile on their face, then we've done what we're doing here.
I think that'll wrap it up. Yeah, I think that's it for now, guys. We'll be doing live. First of all, thank you for sharing the information that you shared. I'm sure some of it's personal, but it's good to get across, because it conveys a message of, yeah, we are still real people, and it's not just, you know, people that are into a particular thing and they're just continuing to pursue it. It's the real issues we're going to face, and yes, we are real people. Doesn't matter what situation we're in. So thank you for being honest and vulnerable. Next week we're going to cover myself. So there's going to be a lot of raw and vulnerable material coming up, and a lot of swearing. So get ready for that.
That's it. And then once we're done there, that's when the really good stuff comes out. We'll start getting our guests in, and we'll start putting some real good content out there. But what we wanted to do for the first 2 episodes is really to introduce who we are and what we're trying to achieve, and so you've got some kind of background and connection to who we are. So we're not just a couple of guys that are doing some videos on, you know, with the goal of getting heaps of followers and stuff like that. We wanted to give you a really good understanding as to why we're doing this and the genuine reason behind it. So we're going to have great guests, lots of information. Stay on the socials, because we're going to be releasing articles, cheat sheets, all these kind of different things that you can actually use for free. So there's no pay $1 and get access to our course for $50. All that kind of stuff. It's literally, the stuff will be up there, the content will be up there. Share it, use it, ask questions. Please interact with us and let us know what you want to see and what you want to cover, and we'll try our damn hardest to make sure that we can actually help you with that.
And we'll actually show you the nutrition and the training that you've got in the goal. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeez, what was that? So yeah, we'll be showing you what I'm eating, what I'm not eating, how it's prepared, all the way down to how I'm weighing things. And again, this is all this bloke here. I had no involvement in 180 grams of chicken or 180 grams. I just bought the scales and followed the rules, and that was part of the deal. Do what I say, how I say it, and when I say it, and that's that. So that's what I'm doing. But we'll be sharing all that. Now, what I'm doing is probably a little bit extreme, going from day dot. But there'll be stuff on there that'll sort of wing you into certain things. Really good content. And if you have a second, come down to Force Fitness, because this guy's absolute cracking coach. It's a really good gym. Really, lots of different people here, so you won't feel left out or anything. Everyone's really nice. And if you want some help with other business or whatever, check out my socials as well. Facebook, Daniel Maloney Official, Instagram, Daniel Maloney Official, or just reach out on Messenger through the Fitness Equation, and I'll be more than happy to help out as well. So, Steve, thanks for this. It has been an awesome first...
Probably about 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah, 30, 40 minutes.
Check that.
Yeah, and we look forward to seeing you in episode 2 very, very soon. So until then, be kind, be good, do your best, and you know what? Give it a go.
See you soon, guys.